Okay. I think we're good to go, bro.
Yeah. Your mic is working, yeah?
Yeah.
Everything's working.
All good. Fine. We are at 41. I think we already finished it.
40.
Hey, Teams.
Do you want me to open Teams?
Yep. We should do this tomorrow before we start. Your Teams is open?
Not yet.
Yeah, this is yours. Oh,
What did you do?
yeah, my Teams is a little funny, dude. It starts with like my Outlook, my normal personal account.
Yeah.
Then I have to change it to the other account, right? And if I close this window, even that closes. So, something funny like that.
I have to delete all this stuff.
Delete what? You just search for me here.
Yeah, I'm your plus. Should I call you or you call me?
I'll call you. Answer and mute your mic.
Video?
Yeah, answer the call. Now mute your mic. Yeah, and your camera on, camera off, share screen. All good?
Okay. I love that picture. Let me put. What is my fucking phone? I put it
It's in the
WhatsApp.
kitchen?
Huh?
The kitchen or what?
No. اهدى يا قلبي اهدى واستنى. Just give me 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes. 5 seconds.
Okay. Your singing is going to be famous, Syed.
Which one?
Whichever song you were singing.
اهدى يا قلبي اهدى واستنى حلمي ده ولا بتمنى هو ده حبيبنا اللي دوبنا. Where is that picture?
Done?
And okay, yeah, it's done.
All good. Okay, starting the timer, yeah?
Bismillah.
We are now inside the form and we have the input thing. Okay, so that is this cat photo URL input we have. Okay, use the button element to create a clickable button. For example, button, click here. Like I was telling you, right? You have a static tag here, you have an ending tag here, and this is the text that goes in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. So when you put these two button things, you get a button tag. I mean, you get a button.
Yeah.
With the text in the middle or displayed on top of it. Okay. Creates a button with the text, click here. Add a button element with the text submit below the input element. Below the input element, we need a button. TTON. Okay. The default behavior for clicking a form button without any attributes, submit the form to the location specified in the form's action attribute. Right? Text has to be submit. So basically you have any type of button on a form.
Yeah.
If you click on it, remember this form which we created, the form had action and the data gets sent to that place.
Yeah.
So at any given point of time, if you click this submit, this probably is expecting something. If you click submit, by default the data is sent. Okay, fine. Check your code. All good?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah. $42.
Even though now the input is outside, okay, we just have the button with us. Even though you added your button below the text input, they appear next to each other on the page. See?
Yeah.
Right? That's because both input and button elements are inline elements which don't appear on new lines.
Yeah.
Right? So remember the inline versus block. Let us say images. This. These are block images. They'll display one after the other.
Yeah.
Inline elements will display one after the other in a line. Okay? We'll get to this property later, but just understand inline guys come one after the other.
Yeah.
That's because both input button elements are inline elements which don't appear on new lines. You learned previously that the button submits the form by default, but you can explicitly add the type attribute with the value submit to make it clearer. Go ahead and do this to specify where this button should submit the form. Okay, so to understand, see what they are telling is that over here we need to put type equals submit. Type equal to submit. And you might ask why, when I already have this button here and if I click it, it submits, right? Why do you want me to write this type equals submit? What if you had a submit and you had typed something and you wanted to click this reset and for this to clear?
Yeah.
Now if I remove type equals submit for both of these, right? What happens? Whether I click submit or I click reset, the data will be sent. Right? And that is why we are doing type equals submit. So only the button which I want to submit will have the text. Okay. And now if I have reset and let us say I have default and something else. Okay. Now in this form I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons. I can have 100 buttons, but whether I click this or this, nothing happens. It's only when I click submit that it will submit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the reason why we're using type equals submit. Yep, you learned previously. That is what we are supposed to do, no? You can explicitly add the type attribute with the value submit to make it clear. Go ahead and do this to specify where this button should submit the form.
Yeah.
43, yeah?
43.
Just before we move on, I am also curious to know what other button type attributes are there.
Submit, reset, clear.
Let's see. Type attributes.
Submit and reset.
Yeah, just button, submit and reset. That's it. Fine. Step 43. We are in the section form at the input field. Okay. You can use radio buttons for questions where you want only one answer out of multiple options. Here is an example of a radio button with the option of cat. Input type radio cat. Remember that input elements are self-closing. Before the input text, add a radio button with the option indoor. before the text input, we need to add input type equal to radio. Radio button with the option of cat. Okay, before the text add with the option indoor. What does this look like? Now if I just add input type equals radio, you'll just have a radio button. Okay, but if we do this, sorry,
Yeah. No, remove the first.
no,
cut.
but what are they expecting?
But remove the first cut. Yeah.
Okay, so they want, remember that input elements are self-closing. Before the text input, add a radio button with the option indoor. Indoor, is this what they're looking for? Yep,
Yeah.
that's what they're looking for.
So if I agree with that.
All good?
Yeah.
Step 44. We are inside the form near the input where we had input radio.
Radio.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the meaning of radio?
Radio.
Type radio.
It is this. When you have those dot options, right? Now if you have this group, see this? Please select, and you select one of these, only one option gets selected, correct?
Yeah.
This or this or this.
Okay.
So a radio button is this type button. In a group, if you are given a group of values, only one is selected.
One is selected. All
Right? So this is obviously different from, where are you? Checkbox, right? 1 minute. So radio versus if you had a checkbox, you can choose multiple options, right? But in this you can choose only one.
Radio.
Yeah. So I don't really know where the history of it, now that you have asked, I'm actually thinking why would they name it radio, right? Checkbox is a checkbox, but I'm guessing there must be some history to a radio button, right? Why is a radio button a radio button? So radio buttons are named after the physical buttons used on older radios to select preset stations. In your car stereo, you have the radio stations, right? In your car, you have the music system, right? And you have either AM or FM, or you have Bluetooth, right?
Sure.
And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 channels, right? If
Yeah.
you press one, only one is selected, right? And you press the next option, that gets selected. So they basically call this a radio button because in older radios you used to have those stations set at 1, 2, 3, 4, right? In the older radios,
Radio. Okay, yeah.
where when one button was pressed, other buttons would pop out. Remember the tape recorder where you would get those? As a
4 or
kid, you
5.
and you press one, then the other one comes out.
Comes out.
Press
Sure.
fast forward, and then the other one comes out. Or play if you press
Only one is working.
correct. So these are named after that. Nice that you thought of it. Till now, I had never ever thought about why would they name it radio,
Name it
right?
radio.
You know. Anyway, so label buttons are used to help associate the text for an input element with the input element itself, especially for assistive technologies like screen readers. For example, label input this cat label makes it so that clicking the word cat also selects the corresponding radio button. Have you noticed this one thing over here? Now let us say you have this indoor, right? We'll put a break after this, okay? The break is a self-closing tag, right? Now it moves this thing below, okay? Now if I click this radio button, the radio button works. But typically you expect when you click the indoor thing, this should get selected, right?
Yeah.
Like see here, you have this thing. Where was it? Dude, I don't know where it was. Button checkbox. Okay, not this. Not this. Shit. HTML. Radio button. Just go back here. Go to this. Typically, whenever you're doing this, if you click this, if you click the name, you want it to get selected, right?
The word, yeah.
Correct. But that is not what is happening here, right?
Our code, yeah.
Yeah. It is only this radio that is being selected.
That's it.
Right? So remember figure and fig caption?
Yeah.
That figure and fig caption, when they are together, do something special.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, you have a tag called label.
Label.
Which can have input inside it. And then this text. So here what did we write? We put input and the word. Correct?
Yeah.
Now this whole thing has to go inside a label.
Okay.
Okay. So once you have this label,
yeah,
you finish that up. So the label will have the checkbox or the input radio button or whatever with it.
Label, yeah.
Okay. Now scroll down on the right side of your screen. Now try clicking indoor.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So that is how you are putting those two together. Similarly, you'll also put a label when you have like first name, you put next to the name, right? Or last name next to the text field. Yeah. That is also where you will use label. Okay. Check your code. Does this work? Works. Fine. Next challenge. We are in 45. How much time do we have? We still have 11 minutes. Okay. The ID attribute is used to identify specific HTML elements. Each ID attribute's value must be unique from all other ID values for the entire page. Add an ID attribute with the value indoor. Okay. So what is ID?
Identification.
Right. And for every person, the ID is
maybe name.
Right. Number or something that is unique. That does not repeat.
Only for him, yeah.
Right. So obviously if you are...
Tell me ID card.
Yeah, ID card also. See, on your ID card, what is the unique thing about your ID card? It's either your roll number or your enrollment number or your employee number or whatnot.
That's
right?
True.
There can be two Amirs or two Syeds can be there in the same school, office, college, work organization, anything. So like but we have an ID.
Student ID number.
Right? Yeah. Unique.
Yeah.
Correct? Like that you have a national ID number or you have a BRP number or whatever. You have a passport number. Unique, right? So now think of this. I'll give you a problem. If we have this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or we have this, all of these are different HTML elements, correct? Now, how do I say, give me this element? Let us say, for example, you want to make the color of this. Remember we saw those styles and we made something bold and underline and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, let us say you want to make this CSS thing, only that piece bold.
Emphasize or...
Yeah, emphasize or whatnot, but from where?
I don't know idea.
Right, you have to be able to track it, correct? So, you can say that this is a list element. This is a list element, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it is inside a label.
Inside the label,
okay. Maybe it's not a list element, but it's just a label and it is a whatever name.
Yeah.
Okay. But on this, you have how many? 1 input, 2 input, 3 input.
3 inputs.
1 label, 2 labels, 3 labels. You have 3 labels. Label, label, label.
Label.
How do you identify, let us say all labels, you know how you change the name and color and styling and whatnot by like a class name or for a group of paragraphs or for a group of things, you know how to. sort of do it, right? So, but how do you specify a specific thing? So you just define an ID to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the difference between an ID and a class name. Okay. Now let us say, for example, we'll just say typography. Okay. And what is typography.com? Okay. This, let us say material design. Right. This is like a design thing for how alphabet should look and how whatever. This material design is the CSS sort of framework for all Google things.
Yeah.
All Google products use this. Right. This is the let us say, these are all the Google type things, right? All their forms and their colors, and this is how they put all their stuff, right? So this is Google's material design, their design philosophy and all the pieces that come along with it. Okay. So these are all, they define all of these types.
Yeah.
They tell that this is our design concept, right? Sure. They obviously think about different things, right? So in this, let us say, for example, we will go to typography type system. Okay. You see how you have headings H1, H2, H3, subtitle, body, caption. All of these are different types of texts. Yeah. Correct. So now in your application, now just look at this page. What is this? Main heading. Okay. So this is probably heading 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is maybe heading 2, and this is maybe body, right? Yeah. So this is heading 2. Okay. Heading 2. And this is probably body 1 or whatever. How do I hide this? Okay, anyway, I think it'll keep coming up, right? So now you agree that this heading H2, H3, all of them are all having a similar type of style.
Yeah.
Right? And I can target all of them together. If I do Control Shift C, and if I go to this guy, this is H3. Okay, this is the H3 type. So if I go to H3 and if I say background color, let us say Alice blue. You see how all their background became like that?
Changed, yeah.
Right? Similarly, if I go and if I say font, if I just say make this color as dark sea green, all of them became sea green, right? So every H3 would have become that. Every H3
will change to that,
right? Will change to that thing. So this is how you define a common, this is how you target a class of things. Okay. Now if I say out of all of these things, I want this, just this header I want to target. How do you do it? Simplest way is to give it an ID. And that ID should be unique for the whole page.
For the whole page.
All elements can, every element can have an ID, but every ID should be unique. Okay. So that is how I say, take this thing with this ID and you do it. Okay.
Sure.
So we will get back to how we use IDs and classes and stuff like that. But I want you to understand the concept of how you have a class. Okay. And how you have like for a class, how you can put one, you can target a set of rules to one, everything that has the same class, for example, right? So all H3 elements are all the same tag, but you can give it an additional class. Let us say display heading or something. Okay, say for example, I'll go to Bootstrap. Okay, Bootstrap v5. See over here, obviously the target is not to finish these numbers and jump through them, right? No. The target is to understand everything. So I'm just throwing everything at you, like at one point of time. A lot of it is going to go over your head, and I completely understand it. But anyway, anytime you come across some concept and you're like, hey, I think we talked about this sometime, you can always come back to the video and refer, right? So we're going all over the place, but I'm trying to make this as full as possible, right? Without overwhelming you with too many details. Okay. Now you see this. These are all buttons. All are of different colors and different things.
Sure.
Right? But what is common with them? The spacing around them is common.
Yeah.
Okay, the font is common.
Sure.
Their font color is sort of the same style and stuff like that, right? But you see over here, button type equals button, common for all of them, common for all of them, every line. Class equals btn.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of them have btn class.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let us see what might btn class have. We'll go here. Class equals btn, right? What is btn? What is btn? You see btn? Btn sets the font size. It sets the
What is
line
BTN?
height. Here, this btn, dot btn.
Okay.
All buttons have class btn, right? We will get to classes later. But just see that what is common, each one of them has a different color. Colors are different.
Yeah.
But the sizing, spacing, font size, all of that is the same, right? So in the code, if you see, the common thing for all of them is btn. btn, 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 right? What is different is btn dash primary. What is btn dash primary? Shall we see here? btn dash primary.
Example.
Color is text color white.
Yeah.
Background color that blue. Border a little dark. Okay. Similarly, that is what btn primary is the style.
First.
Okay. If you look at btn secondary, same color equals white, background color gray, and border color dark gray. Like that, you pick up anything else. You want to see warning, warning, warning. Text color black, background color yellow.
But this is not.
Okay.
This is not HTML. It's CSS, right?
It's CSS, but you will write these rules in CSS, in CSS file. But in HTML, you will tell it, please apply these rules.
Okay, yeah.
You understand? So the styles that you specify, you'll put it in another file. Typically. But when they start off in freeCodeCamp, they'll show you how it works in line. Okay. So just to understand, in the CSS file, this is the button SCSS file, right?
Yeah.
So if you open this file, you see this, how long this file is.
Yeah.
So in line 21 or wherever they were telling, that is where the button rule is defined. Okay. So just understand, these are the unique stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the common stuff. The common stuff in button is font weight, the line height, what the text looks like, how it is aligned and stuff like that. So these properties are applied to all of them, right? So if you want to see here, you see font weight 400.
Yeah.
You see all the buttons now.
400.
Now if I make this
changed,
it is applicable to all of them.
Yeah.
Correct. Let us say, what was it? 400, right? So we'll go back to the original. But if I take the button warning, this particular thing, and I come here, and if I write, let us say, font weight 900, let us see. This style is applicable only for this button.
Yeah.
Right? Because in this, btn is applied to all of them. btn warning is applied to this.
Yeah.
So you understand how rules sort of work together. Yeah. We will understand that in more depth later, but just understand that classes are like common for a bunch of them, right? Even if you have a different class, btn warning, if it is here, if this btn warning comes somewhere else, maybe not here, where is btn warning? It's not there, right? So let us say we will take btn primary. You see all these buttons are blue, right? This one is blue. All the other ones are blue here.
Related to.
Right? So all of these should change if I change btn primary.
Primary, yeah.
Okay, so we will have a look. This is for this button, this particular button. Okay, we are targeting this particular button's thing here. Font weight, we'll make it 900. But because btn dash primary is applied to so many buttons, all of them will be affected. You get it? We'll get back to that in a bit, right? So now you see how that is affected to all the classes, right? So now the problem that I'm trying to address is, now I changed this thing. While I was targeting this btn primary, I changed this class, but it changed everybody's. No.
Yeah.
How do I target only this button? Right? So here in after class, I will, along with class, I can put id equal to my button XXX. I don't know if my button will be there, but this is the ID that we are giving. Okay, I gave this my ID. Okay, now I will come here, and if I will say this is where button primary was, right?
Primary, yeah.
Now I'll go here, insert style role here, and I will just say my ID. Okay, and I will say background color colon red, right? So this has the ID. This, it has the class button primary, but the button primary is applicable to all the other ones.
Sure.
But if I target this guy, this is how I target this one button
With ID.
of all the buttons that have that stuff.
Same, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the ID is the ID for that button or that element. So we give it an ID so that afterwards later we can find that ID and do something with that item. Okay. So we will come back to this after the break. Okay, but you understand about radio and this stuff, yeah? So we will be back after 5 minutes. Mute the mic.